Welcome to The Deception Blueprint: How Lies Shape the World We Live In. Today we'll uncover the hidden mechanisms of deception that shape our societies, cultures, and personal lives. You know, we often think of deception as this big, dramatic thing, like it's a spy swapping out code books or something. But the truth is, deception is way more pervasive than that. It's woven into the very fabric of our lives, often in ways we don't even realize. Today we're going to pull back the curtain and expose the mechanisms of deception. Because in a world where truth itself feels increasingly fragile, understanding deception is the first step towards fighting back. So why do we lie? I mean, it's risky. You risk getting caught, damaging your relationships, even ending up in legal hot water. Yet we all do it. Studies suggest that the average person tells at least one lie every single day.
Part of it is evolutionary. Think about it. Our ancestors who were better at deceiving others, at securing resources through maybe a little white lie, or exaggerating their hunting prowess, they might have had a survival advantage. And that brings us to the fascinating world of cognitive biases. These are like mental shortcuts our brains use to process information, and they can make us incredibly susceptible to deception. Take confirmation bias, for example. We tend to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, even if that information is false. This is like the ultimate fuel for conspiracy theories, right? Or how about cognitive dissonance? That's the discomfort we feel when holding conflicting beliefs. So we often twist the facts to fit our worldview, even if it means embracing a lie.
Understanding these psychological loopholes is crucial because it's not just about why lie, but why we are so often willing to accept the lies of others. We crave simple explanations, easy answers, and sometimes a good lie can be incredibly seductive. Deception isn't some newfangled invention of the internet age. It's as old as civilization itself. From the very first whispered falsehood to the elaborate propaganda campaigns of the modern era, lies have shaped the course of human history.
Think about the Trojan horse. This is like Deception 101, right? The Greeks, after a decade of besieging Troy, come up with this plan to build a giant wooden horse, pretend it's a gift, and sneak their best warriors inside. The Trojans, blinded by what they to believe, that the war is finally over, fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. The result? The fall of Troy, and a cautionary tale about the seductive power of deception that has resonated for millennia.
But it's not just ancient mythology. Fast forward a few thousand years and we see deception playing a pivotal role in shaping the course of world wars. Propaganda posters depicting the enemy as monstrous, radio broadcasts filled with fabricated atrocities. These tools of misinformation were used to demonize opponents, galvanize public support, and ultimately fuel the fires of conflict.
The examples are endless. Watergate, where a web of lies toppled a presidency, or the Cambridge Analytica scandal, where data was weaponized to manipulate voters.
We live in a digital age awash in information, but here's the paradox. It's also an age of unprecedented deception. Technology, for all its wonders, has become a double-edged sword, making it easier than ever to create, spread, and ultimately profit from lies.
Let's talk about deepfakes. These AI-generated videos can make anyone appear to say or do anything. Imagine a world where you can't even trust what you see with your own eyes. The implications for politics, for journalism, for our very sense of reality are staggering. And it's not just deepfakes. Think about social media algorithms. These complex systems are designed to keep us scrolling, to feed us a steady diet of content tailored to our biases. The problem is, this can create echo chambers where we're only exposed to information that confirms our existing worldview, making us more susceptible to misinformation and less likely to engage in critical thinking.
And then there's the sheer volume of information we're bombarded with every day. It's overwhelming. And in that exhaustion, it becomes all too easy to accept information at face value, to let our critical thinking skills atrophy. Chapter 4.
Deception isn't always some grand conspiracy or malicious plot. Sometimes it's woven into the very fabric of our daily lives, disguised as normalcy, cloaked in the mundane.
Think about advertising. It's not just about selling products. It's about selling an idea, an aspiration. Those perfectly lit photos, those impossibly happy families, They're selling us a version of ourselves we're encouraged to aspire to, even if that version is often unattainable and ultimately manufactured.
Then there's the myth of meritocracy, this idea that success is solely the product of hard work and talent. It's a comforting narrative, but it often ignores systemic inequalities and privileges that give some a considerable head start.
Chapter 5. The Anatomy of a Lie. Why deception works. Deception works. If it didn't, it wouldn't be so pervasive throughout history and in our own lives. But why are we so susceptible to it? What are the ingredients that make a lie believable, even persuasive? Trust is a big one. We're more likely to believe information from sources we trust: friends, family, news outlets we've relied on in the past. The problem is, this trust can be exploited. Propagandists understand this, which is why they often try to position themselves as credible sources, as voices of authority. And speaking of authority, that's another key ingredient. We're conditioned to obey authority figures, even when they're wrong. The Milgram experiment, where participants were told to administer electric shocks to another person, is a chilling example of how easily we can be manipulated by someone in a position of power. Then there's the information itself. Misinformation often plays on our emotions. It's designed to make us angry, afraid, or outraged. Chapter 6. Living in the Ruins of Truth, the Consequences of Deception. We live in a world where truth itself feels increasingly fragile. We're bombarded with misinformation, manipulated by algorithms, and often our own biases make us easy targets for deception. But what are the consequences of this constant state of informational warfare?
One of the most insidious consequences is the erosion of trust. When we can no longer trust the information we're consuming, it becomes difficult to know what to believe, who to trust. This erosion of trust seeps into our relationships, our institutions, and ultimately our democracy.
And then there's polarization. Misinformation often thrives on division. It creates echo chambers where people are only exposed to information that confirms their existing biases, making them more entrenched in their beliefs and less likely to engage in civil discourse with those who hold different views. This constant state of deception takes a toll on us individually too. It can lead to feelings of anxiety, helplessness, and cynicism. Chapter 7. Building your BS detector, how to guard against deception. So we've spent the last few chapters exploring the pervasive nature of deception, how it works, and the very real consequences it has on our lives. But this isn't meant to be a doom and gloom message. This is a call to action, because while we can't single-handedly dismantle the machinery of deception, we can learn to protect ourselves, to become more discerning consumers of information. The first step is cultivating critical thinking. Don't just accept information at face value, especially if it comes from sources you haven't verified or if it confirms your existing biases. Question everything. Look for evidence. Consider the source. Is it credible? Is it biased? And fact-check people. There are so many resources available to us now. Snopes, PolitiFact, even just a quick Google search can often debunk a false claim. Don't be afraid to be that person in the comments section, politely pointing out that actually that statistic about insert topic is completely made up. Be wary of emotional manipulation. Misinformation often uses fear, anger, and outrage to short-circuit our critical thinking skills. Outro. Stay curious, stay critical. Thanks for watching The Deception Blueprint. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay informed, stay critical, and protect yourself from deception. Look, we covered a lot of ground today, from the psychology of lying to the ways deception shapes our history, our technology, and even our everyday lives. It can feel overwhelming, but remember, awareness is the first step. By understanding the mechanisms of deception, we can start to see through the lies and equip ourselves to navigate this increasingly complex world.